Uganda, a land of beauty and plenty, affected by years of post-independent challenges, but awakening to its potential in the last 30 years. The country's economy is supported by four main sectors: trade, manufacturing, services, and agriculture. Having a steady gross domestic product growth since 1986, there was the ever-present mismatch between growth and household incomes. As seen in the government policy embedded in strategies, financial inclusion emerged as a key means by which to bring the predominantly agricultural population into the formal economy. According to the Ministry of Finance Permanent Secretary Ramadan Gobi, 3.5 million households are in subsistence agriculture. Financial inclusion means providing access to financial services to everyone, regardless of their income or location or gender. In developing countries, many people remain unbanked and unable to access basic financial services like savings, payments, credit, and insurance. This limits their opportunities for economic growth and development. Uganda, through the Bank of Uganda, is part of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, AFI, a policy network of Global South financial regulators since 2009. Among the major policies introduced by the bank towards financial inclusion was the just concluded 5-year National Financial Inclusion Strategy, NFIS. The 2017 to 2022 NFIS was designed to foster a better regulatory environment and bring the private and public sector together to promote financial inclusion. During its strategic period, the NFIS saw the emergence of several technological solutions and multi-sectoral collaboration towards enhancing financial inclusion. In November 2022, AFI, together with the Bank of Uganda, conducted a field mission to capture local stories of everyday Ugandans to provide a snapshot of the state of financial inclusion in the country.
In the case of Uganda, as part of implementing the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, we defined based on around 2 or 3 things. One is having access to, but also using a broad range of quality and affordable financial services. But what is more important, we add the component that it should ensure financial security. So in terms of the definition, we look at access as one component. The second one is usage, but also we look at quality issues. It should be affordable. But the ultimate goal is to ensure that users of financial services have financial security.
The 2017 to 2022 Financial Inclusion Strategy was anchored on 5 pillars: reducing access barriers to the financial sector, improving credit infrastructure, provision of digital financial services, improving savings, credit, insurance, and pension services, consumer empowerment. In the Ugandan financial inclusion story, among the several approaches used, 2 especially stand out: mobile phone-based monetary transactions, dubbed mobile money, and agent banking.
The National Payment Systems Act was passed in 2020, implementing regulations in 2021. As I speak, we have about 21 or 22 players that have been licensed, either as payment service providers or payment systems operators, and the outreach has been tremendous. If you think about access, if you are counting numbers, you'd actually say every Ugandan is financially included. In terms of the number of accounts that we have for mobile money, they're actually about 38 million. Our adult population is about 22 million. So I could say that we are fully included. Unfortunately, that may not be true because some people have more than one account, so there is a bit of double counting. When we look at unique numbers, we have about, based on the national IDs, we have about 19 million unique accounts. So mobile financial services have driven financial inclusion. You may have read in the recent Global Findex findings where they're speaking to reduction in gender gap from 7 percentage points to about 2 percentage points in the case of Uganda, and that is largely attributed to mobile money. We also, based on the numbers, in 2017, access to formal financial services was about 54%, but as we speak, it's about 66%, and all that is attributed to digital financial services. One of the things that was done in 2017 was to amend the Financial Institutions Act to allow for banks to onboard agents. So now beyond the brick and mortar, we have agents that are spread across the country. When the regulations came in 2017, banks started onboarding agents, and that has reduced the cost of financial services tremendously. But also it's given people a lot of employment.
Jansikiriza okola mobile money kali. Nabeeranga ne taata wange ngayo. Anteresa nnyo ssente, yanteresanga nnyo ssente yali tannaba kufa. Kati nga njagala nnyo okubeera ne ssente okuzirabako nga nnyingi. Ate bwe natuuka wa bbosi wange yabeeranga akozesa ssente nnyingi. Kati nga okuzitunako obutunuza nga ndaba ng'ezange nga mbuba nange nsobola okuzifuna nga nsobola okulaba ku miliyoni 5 nga zange nga nzikutteko. Kati kyekyandeetera okukola ennyo nga neze bampa ku mulimu nga nzitereka.
I use mobile money to make transaction, maybe to pay water bills, electricity bills. Making also some customers come when they don't have money, they can send money through the mobile money.
When you are paying school fees used to be a point for queuing in all these banks, and it was a nightmare for many parents. But now, if you want to pay school fees, you just go to an agent bank. If you want to pay for insurance, agent bank. If you want to pay for all sorts of things, you do agent banking. And also in terms of inclusion, it's this integration where you have a mobile phone, but now you can use it to pay in the supermarket using a merchant code. Nowadays for me, and you might argue that I've already been financially included because I have a bank account, but it widens my usage of the financial sector. I have money on my phone, I'm buying fuel. I don't need cash.
The concept of ABC really came into play around about 2016. At that time, the law, the Financial Institutions Act had just been amended to provide for agent banking, bank assurance, and Islamic banking. And as we prepared to launch agent banking services across the country, as the regulations were being prepared, we thought about a strategy, and we thought that if we build a platform where financial institutions plug in, then each one doesn't have to replicate agent banking service technology to support agent banking across the country. We built a shared platform through which financial institutions then plug in, and they focus on getting services out there, recruiting more customers, while a back-end engine supports agent banking. So that concept was welcomed, so they don't have to duplicate technology. When you enhance, you do it at once, but most importantly, you enable financial institutions then reinvest that money in products and services.
The 2017-2022 National Financial Inclusion Strategy was developed by the Bank of Uganda and supported by AFI. AFI's support to Uganda's financial inclusion agenda is now in its 14th year since 2009. Some of AFI's support to the bank were in agent banking regulations, Islamic banking regulations, consumer protection guidelines for mobile money, financial literacy advocacy, financial capability survey, among others. Uganda's population is estimated at 44 million people, with about 52% being women, underlining the importance of a deliberate focus for onboarding women in all financial inclusion efforts. AFI, working with Bank of Uganda, kept this need center stage.
Gender issues is a global issue. And you know, in the Sustainable Development Goal, there is Agenda 5 on gender equality. It is a global issue because women occupy 50% of the world population. Even here in the country, women occupy, I think it's about close to 50% of the population, and that is a significant number that you can't ignore. And it is for the same reason that when we were developing the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, we felt that that was a critical target group that needed to be addressed. Otherwise, then you'd leave 50% of the population behind. We need to move together. Yes. And women, of course, play a very key role. Much as they are women, yes, they play a part in the socio-economic transformation of the country, they look after families, and they are quite important in all these issues of national development.
That need was highlighted by the impact of grassroots women, for instance, being enabled to join the monetary economy by the presence of enabling platforms.
Natandika nga bankozesa namala kuva ku ssomero senior 5 saagimalaako ne banfunira omulimu. By then baali bampandooza emitwalo 10. Nkola mpola ne mmalawo emyaka 2 ne nfunawo akasente ke nali nkuŋŋaanyizza nange ne ntandika okwekozesa kakakati. Natandika ne layini yali emu, yali ya Airtel ne kakapita akatonotono. Najifuna nkyali kuveera ndeera nga maze okukolawo emyezi gyali 6 nfuna emitwalo 5, bajunguza emitwalo 5 emukyeni ne bagimpandisiza amannya gange netandika okugikozesa. Bizinensi nagitandika olw'ensonga nti bwe nava ku ssomero gye natuukiramu kati gye nali ntegeera.
I had a vision of helping my fellow girls with disabilities. I started this workshop when I was still a girl. From the training, I knew that girls with disabilities had problems because as persons with disabilities, mostly they are not going to school. So I had come with that vision to help my fellow persons with disabilities and girls at large.
Nti omulimu gwange kutunga na kutendeka baana. Omulimu guno ngwagala nnyo. Natandika ogwagala nga ndi mu kyakuna. Natandika nina ekyalaani kimu, nina omuyizi omu. Kati nsobola okutuuza abaana 10, 12. Ate ne babampa n'abayintaani muno bamanyi nti genda wali omukyala yintaani bajja ajja kusobola okujjamu omwana.
Mu family yange wali azirako omulenzi kati era nzamukozesa musasula mwezi. Era yinera zayina eri zange ya Airtel naye mukyeni ne capital namumuwa.
That the plight of women stands out is also occasioned by the social cultural realities.
The key ones is access to financial services. You know, culturally and especially in the African culture, women are supposed to be at home. They're not supposed to be confined. They shouldn't move far away from their homes. Now, if in a rural setting, and most of them are rural, by the way, in a rural setting, if a financial institution is far away, you find that it is a limitation for a woman to, first of all, amidst her household chores, to go away for a long distance just to look for a bank. So access was clearly an issue.
Blaka ye bank yali okumpi yatandikanga women's group mufena nga tukola groups mu bantu 2 ne basomesa omusomo ne bawola sente 500 nga branch yayo enkulu yali awo waggulu kumpi awo ng'osobola otuukawo mangu.
The other issue is also lack of collateral, and especially if they have to take credit, you find that, you know, the banks may demand some form of collateral for purposes of extension of credit, and women, girl child normally is not considered as priority when it comes to owning of property.
They used to say, as a person with disability, really, when we give you loan, will you manage to pay back? I said I can. So they were like testing me. They give me a small loan. Then after like a period, they give me, I've already paid off. So there was encouraged to give me more. Now I'm a good customer to them. I call them, they come to me. I fill the form from here. They take the form, they bring back, and they inform me that your money is ready, and I go to the bank and I withdraw money.
The Ugandan financial inclusion story, however, has other efforts outside mobile money and agent banking. Savings credit and cooperative organizations, otherwise called SACCOs, are playing a key role, especially accelerated by the government poverty alleviation and financial inclusion programs, requiring that farmers and others register SACCOs to access government seed funding. There is a proliferation of these entities.
We were doing this in order to bring up those people with disabilities, because for them they were thinking that because they are disabled, that they are left behind.
Ekyatusindika okutandikawo eno sako kubanga yali government program ng'etaddewo omukisa nti n'abantu abalina obulemu ku constituency level beegatte bakole sako. Kale naffe kwe kulaba nga tugezaako kumobilizinga bannaffe ne tukola sake, ate nga gavumenti etusuubiza otuteekamu ki, otuteekamu akasente. Obuzibu bwe twali tusanga obusinga obunene nti ebibiina oba financial institutions ezisinga oba banks ezigaba ssente twali tetusobola genda y'okufunayo ssente okulaba twongera mu mirimu gye tukola ki gye tuyina, ng'ekisooka interest yaabwe nnene nnyo. Ekyokubiri baba baagala emisingo ate ebiseera ebingi gye tutokola ki gye tutayina, ate nga baba baagala nnyo ng'omuntu ng'abadde atambula ne banka okumala ebbanga, ate nga ebiseera ebisinga n'essente zibatuteeka mu banka tuba tukola ki tuba tetuziina. Kale twalaba nti tufunye omukisa guno kwe kusala naffe ne tuteekamu amaanyi okulaba nti tukola ki tufuna chance eyo, ate nga ekisinga n'abantu abaliko obulemu weesanga nti ne enakani institution bank services gye ziri ezimu teziri accessible, tebasobola gendayo, abantu baba bagenzeeyo tebalina bukugu busobola kwogerezeganya nabo.
Bwe mba ntuuse mu banka mba neetaaga era mba neetaaga omuntu ananyambako kuntuusa ku kintu kyemba neetaaga.
She have to have a guide who can know how to read and to write. Right. But sometimes when she reaches in the bank, the bank people can even help. These days they are disability friendly. They are no longer like the past because now everyone knows that someone with disabilities can do something.
The government's aim is to bring more of the 39% of the population that is still part of the financially excluded into the formal economy. Most SACCOs have bank accounts that by proxy links the grassroots members to the financial sector. SACCOs, especially the smaller ones, could be effective vehicles to drive financial inclusion.
The other challenge we have is the mindset. In fact, you will not, the people's perception on, for example, government programs, they will take it as a gift. Even when government introduces programs like for poverty alleviation through financial services like a myoga, like parish development model, the perception is that these are free, they are for as a donation, as a reward to government. So the mind of taking it serious that these are resources you need to borrow and pay, and then the other one accesses is still a challenge. So the mind, we need to do a lot of financial literacy trainings, we need more sensitization.
Sisuubira kugivaamu kubanga ekisooka saka eyamba abantu abali awamu mugabana ebirowoozo, bwe mumala okugabana ebirowoozo ne musobola okwekulaakulanya. Ate nsuubira nti eno saka ejja genda ekula ne mu maaso eyinza okufuuka banka. Kale suubira nti nyinza ogivaamu wabula okugibeeramu okulaba nti ngezaako okulaba nti yeeyongera okukula, okulaba ng'eva weeri okuba ng'egenda ku naakani ku mutendera omulala, kuba tusuubira nti nyinza okuva mu ssaako ate neefuuka banka ne bammemba abantu baba nga bakola ki bagyeyambisa.
In the case of the hybrid between the for-profit and non-profit organizations, the model adopted by Uganda illustrates the effect. YOR works with MasterCard Foundation, among others, in a cluster ecosystem model, also targeting up to 800,000 farmers.
From a strategic point of view, we see agriculture as one of the largest growth areas because the players in that sector, mainly the farmers, are the least digitally included, let alone the payment space. So our 2015 effort gave us our first bits of experience in financial inclusion, which then led to a larger and more significant effort that started in 2017, where we partnered with MasterCard to deploy a product called YourPay Agric. YourPay Agric essentially takes an ecosystem approach to enabling digital payments and the use of digital services. What we found from our initial efforts in 2015 was that it's not as simple as asking a farmer to start making digital payments or start using mobile money. There are various other questions that had to be answered, such as what am I paying for, or what payments am I what products am I receiving these payments for? Where can I get information on the best suppliers of inputs? Who are the buyers who would give me the best price for my product? So this ecosystem approach in our partnership with MasterCard in the deployment of the product called YourPay Agric, we believe would have the largest level of impact, with digital payments, which is our primary business, being more of a side effect of the deployment of the ecosystem as opposed to being the main agenda.
All the efforts towards financial inclusion by government and non-government actors, including support from AFI, have contributed to Uganda's financial literacy progress. For example, mobile money alone has become an enabling and expandable ecosystem in its own right.
A very big part of what we call our Ambition 2025 strategy, which essentially is saying how do we partner with Africa to digitize its progress, is about MTN mobile money being a platform. So we are very open, and that means we bring in partners, because partners accelerate, lead us to scale very quickly. So we have partners across the ecosystem. So for instance, remittance, we have partners like MFS Africa, TerraPay, Tunes. Then we have partners when it comes to aggregation, people, entities like Uganda, Pegasus. At the core of our platform strategy as mobile money is to have partners because they bring agility, scale, and they bring quality. Most recently, Sanlam, under the InsurTech platform, is our latest partner across MTN.
Right now, Sentinel Bank is somehow good. They bring it insurance. After the commission of the months, they deducted 10% of your commission for insured you. Yeah, insured you. When the thief they come here and take your money, insurance they pay.
Much as digital financial services have enabled financial inclusion to grow, effective usage in terms of how people save and borrow formally is still very low. So we see a lot of the achievements being on the payment side. So financial inclusion is still more payment centric, and would like to see more happening on the savings and on the lending side or on the borrowing side. And that's when I think that financial inclusion will really start to play its developmental role, when it starts to go into these more other financial services that have a stronger impact on livelihoods.
Ab'omungalo be basinga kuba sente za mobile money era ebiseera ebisinga nze sizibalira nnyo mu sente zange, nzirekako olumu ne zinnyamba okuzaayo ne nzisuubuza. Abeewala be basinga kuba nina abeewala like Kalangala, omuntu akasitoma asobola okuŋŋamba nkolera olugoye nga namukolerako, nkolera kino kati nansindikira ku mobile money. Nga naye ab'okumpi taba na nsonga lwaki azikuteerako. Era atambula kuba era olumu omukubira n'omugaazi nteereko nagamba ate charges.
The collaboration that has been afforded by the right regulatory environment creates an even better trajectory for financial inclusion.
There's been very good innovation at the Central Bank of Uganda, where under the auspices of the Deputy Governor, we have what we call a round table. Sits quarterly of the players in the industry, and we're able to exchange firsthand what is working, where we feel we need more support, and they, on the other hand, are able to also share the development priorities of the Central Bank of Uganda in general, and challenge us in terms of where can we see ourselves making a contribution. In fact, from that round table, we recently set up the NPS, National Payment System, licensed players in the National Payment Systems body, which now brings us together, okay? Formerly we were competing, and we still do, but I think now it is sustainable because we do sit together and come up with common positions around issues.
When it comes to financial inclusion in Uganda, I would say Uganda has achieved quite tremendous progress in the financial inclusion space. In the last 10 years, financial inclusion has more than tripled. In 2011, data tells us it was around 20%. In 2021, the latest figures from the Findex report place Uganda at 66% of financial inclusion. So that's really tremendous growth, and this has been driven majorly by digital financial services, mobile money to be specific. When you look at mobile money coming on the market in 2009 to date, you can see that the growth trend in financial inclusion numbers mimics or has been quite aligned with the growth of mobile money.
The optimism and the bright future for financial inclusion notwithstanding, there are key challenges that must be addressed for the progress to deliver the true essence of the word inclusion.
Access remains a challenge. Access remains a challenge. We've talked about the agent banking, which has supported financial inclusion, but it still remains a problem, especially in the rural communities. And this is compounded by things like limited internet penetration in the rural communities. You see, you can only deliver these services with supporting infrastructure. So if you don't have adequate or reliable internet services in the rural communities, then even initiatives such as agent banking cannot be successful. So access remains a barrier, especially in the rural areas. Urban areas, it's not a problem because there is good network coverage and broadband coverage. But in the rural areas, it remains a challenge. So access is one. Two is the low levels of literacy. We have made some milestones. The last FinScope survey, put financial inclusion at about 70% or thereabout. We've made major strides in financial literacy, but the digital literacy component remains a problem. And yet, today we are leveraging digital initiatives to promote financial inclusion. So the digital literacy levels that are low are a big constraint. And that's why we even see some incidences of digital fraud, which would ordinarily not happen if the masses were more digitally literate. So digital literacy is a challenge. Thirdly, we have an issue around transaction costs. The transaction charges are a major barrier towards our financial inclusion efforts. I can take mobile money as an example. Mobile money has been a key driver for financial inclusion in Uganda. The recent Global Findex report reported that up to, I think, 54% of the adult community in Uganda accesses financial services using the mobile phones. Okay? But the statistics we have indicate that more than 90% of the mobile money transactions are in the low value category. Low value being 0 to 50,000 Uganda shillings. 50,000 Uganda shillings is about maybe $13 or thereabout. Now, 90% of the transactions are in that category, less than $13. And yet, the transaction charges go as high as 1.5% of the value that is being sent. So this has indicated to us that the costs are a barrier, and indeed, our interactions with the communities indicate that there are major complaints around transaction charges. So now that is only on the mobile money side, 90% in the low value category. But the same complaints, the same concerns have been raised even when it comes to the banking transactions. So the charges remain high, and we hope that the ongoing interventions around development, especially with digital financial services, we hope that we shall be able to bring down the transaction charges and better harness the benefits that come with more masses using financial services. Yeah. So I think those are the three main challenges and barriers that we face.
Bwe natandikira okukola ku mobile money, charges tezaali waggulu nnyo nga kati, kubanga bwe twakolera wali emabega tekwalingako taxi. No taxi yagenda yeeyongerako 5 buli mitwalo 10. Ati ng'omuntu kati omuntu kimubeerera kizibu omugamba nti bwakubuuza emitwalo 10 bagigirako mmeka, nomugamba 2-5 zonna. Kati oba olina n'omunnyonnyola nti kati kampuni esala 1,925 ate oteekeko n'omusolo gwa 5, kitegeera nti olina okubeera nga buli kadde wennyonnyolako ka commission ke baatuwanga nti oba emitwalo 5 kati wali emabega emitwalo 5 nga bakuwa 1,400, naye kati bakuwa 1,900 sente bazisala nnyo, miliyoni bakuwa 3,900. Kati okugatta 3,900 olunaku okuweza omutwalo kikubeerera kizibu, alwawo okuwera.
Agency banking, but the problem we have of transferring money or cash from here to Mbarara. We don't have here bank, just we have agents here. When I want to bank on my float account, I take to Mbarara. But the problem of transferring money from here to Mbarara, one is transport, the second is the problem with the thieves. Yeah.
Izamuggo wekka. Lwaki? Kubanga losses girimu nnyingi, tukola shortage nnyingi. Bo mufere yazze n'akubba oba sindise sente ne zigende walala, kati sobola kwagazisa muntu mugamba tingira mobile money giyingire, kyetaaga ogyereesemu wekka nomanya nti bwe zinaaba zibuze nga gwe wakyeyingizaamu.
Obaddemu obufere bungi nga bwe bafeera sindika wano nyiga wano ebyo bwe biti, era kyekyampaliriza n'okufuna MTN ng'olumu mpulira entamye njagala kukyusa nveeko.
We meet a challenge of mobility and access for public places and even to loans, because we don't have securities and the interests are the same. And for us, we have a lot of challenges. I can't go alone when I'm going for shopping. I have to get someone to push me and I have to pay him. And I have acquired the loan as you, and we are the same rate of interest. So we would request, as persons with disabilities, we could get a loan at a lower fee, at a lower interest percent, so that we can enable us to do business and at the same time to pay our helpers.
Fraud is one of the pervasive barriers, especially for the lower end of the financial spectrum, which must be tackled beyond the efforts for more financial literacy. For policymakers, the eyes are now set for the next 5-year financial inclusion strategy.
Yes, the focus on microfinance is very key. One, because microfinance is still growing. In this country, the first law that recognized the value of microfinance is the Tier 4 Microfinance Institution and Money Lenders Act, which came into effect in July 2017. The law was enacted in 2016. So we still have a lot to do in terms of consumer behavior, consumer awareness, and also investments in the segment of microfinance. There is also the area of Islamic microfinance, although we've made stride in the general Islamic financing, but Islamic microfinance is an area which we will need to concentrate on as we develop the third national financial inclusion strategy.
In my future plan, if I could get money, I could buy a big land and I build a school.
Near here?
Nearby here. Mostly I look for girls, the girls drop out schools, those who get early pregnancies. They suffer a lot. I can help them when I got money and I build.
Plan jenina kwe kuzimba business yange ate n'ekirala kubeerako abantu abalala b'ennyamba nga nabo baliko obulemu olw'ensonga okusoma kwange nafunamu ebizibu bingi. Waliyo abo balemererwa okusoma ate nga ne ssente nga tebalina, ate nga tebalina ngeri gye bayinza okufunamu chansi y'okuyiga bino ebintu ebisobola okubayambako.
Yeah, I'm planning to have a workshop elsewhere so that this one will just be a selling place and employ also other people.
I do think we have just started. Central Bank and other players have done a good thing to institute the policies but also support the infrastructure, cause and support mergers of service in terms of telecoms and banks and financial institutions, and allow development of apps and things, that ecosystem of technology. They are pushing forward what we see is going to support financial inclusion even to a greater degree. Why? We might argue that internet is not widespread, but it will. Eventually it will. The smartphone is a bit expensive now, but it is growing in terms of usage. Eventually the smartphone is going to be accessible to most people. And what are we going to see? Once the systems existing are already waiting for the spread of the smartphone, then you are going to get more people, even in the villages, benefit from financial inclusion. And also, we have a young population which is, even in the villages, becoming more tech savvy. Yes, the older generation might not be, but the younger ones, who are the majority, are becoming more tech savvy. So with the smartphone and with the regulators and other players kind of forward thinking, applying forward thinking, I do think the future of financial inclusion is going to become normal life. Right now it's a big deal, but eventually it won't be.